YouTube, they will see it. Grabe, multiple audiences, multiple platforms. Good evening, and welcome to our INQ A with Vice Presidential Candidate Representative Leni Robredo. I'm John Neri, and it is my happy task to serve as your moderator for the next hour. Welcome to our cozy little studio.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me.
Congresswoman. We are joined tonight by INQUIRER.net's Chief of Reporters, Tayin Sabilio, and our multimedia reporter covering the Rojas Robredo campaign, Julian De Jesus. We are also live on Facebook on our INQUIRER.net page, live on YouTube in our Inquirer News channel, and live, of course, on INQUIRER.net itself, the country's leading news website. We are also present in the chat app space. We are live. We are on air online, and we also have live updates on Viber, WeChat, FireChat, and Kakao. We are also live on. We have live updates on Twitter. Follow us at INQUIRER.net and at @team_Inquirer. Last but not least, we are also covered by the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Inquirer Bandera. Congresswoman, just a brief introduction about the format. It's very simple. We will have 3 rounds of questions. Each round will last maybe 18 to 19 minutes. And each round will begin with questions from the crowd, from our various audiences. Probably this will take up maybe the first 10 minutes of each round. After that, we will have our own follow-up questions. So we'll move from the first round until the third, and then maybe we can end with some closing words from you. Let me start with a question from Twitter, from Criel.Fernandez. As the only female VP candidate, how can you prove that you are as tough or even tougher than the males?
I think my record as a lawyer for the poor and as a congresswoman would be able to prove it. It's easy to say I'm tough, but it's really difficult to just say it. But what I did in the past would show that I really fight for what I think is always right. I have stood my ground in many issues that have beset us, even if some of these are not exactly in line with the administration's point of view. And I'm very glad that my views have been respected. Ano naman yun? It's a difficult parang role to be in, to be the only female candidate. Kasi there is actually a percentage of the constituency who would always go for somebody they think would be tougher than the rest. And we have to prove ourselves, parang we have to put in more effort to be able to prove that we're tough enough for the job.
Ma'am, we will have an opportunity to ask follow-up questions about you being the only rose among the thorns. But our next question is from social, and that's from Time.
Good evening, Congresswoman.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us tonight. I have a question from Facebook. This is actually one of the questions that are often asked about those running for the vice presidency. This is from Ella Marie. It's not a secret that in most government setups, people do not give much attention to the vice presidency, its actual function, and as a potential venue for significant national accomplishments. How will you revolutionize this important national post and not have it abused and turn into a venue to further political ambitions?
I think I have said this many times in the past that if elected, I intend to redefine the office. Kasi for a very long time, we have had a succession of vice presidents na talagang hindi nabigyan masyado ng attention yung office. Either because hindi naman nabigyan ng mas maraming pagkakataon or talagang nag-ambisyon for a higher position. Kaya sabi ko, yung step one siguro sa akin is to convince myself and to convince people that I will never be lured into aiming for a higher post. Kasi once I have that ambition, parang I wouldn't be able to maximize the office already because there is always the temptation to use it to further my political ambitions eh. Ano talaga to? I always look at the post, syempre partner ka ng presidente, but you're not just there to be a problem solver, but you're there to be an inspirational guide. And para maging inspirational guide, kailangan ma-inspire mo yung tao to think of themselves as part of government. Kasi, again, for a very long time, ang tingin ng tao, yung gobyerno, yung public servants lang eh. Ako yung aking target sana, by being an inspirational guide, papaalala ko lang sa tao na you're also government. Because government is not just about public servants alone, pero government is about, di ba, parang government and people working together. I'm saying this because we have done this in Naga when my husband was mayor. Parang we exerted a lot of effort in trying to change the mindset of the constituency. Kasi yung ang tao, tinitingnan niya na hindi siya kabahagi ng gobyerno, very critical eh. Parang pag namamali yung gobyerno, ang bilis kaagad na. Parang hindi forgiving. Pero nung naramdaman na ng tao, nakalahok siya sa pamumuno. When the constituency is assured that he has a voice in governance, they become very collaborative. And when the constituency is very collaborative, they share in the successes of government, pero yung failures naman, mas understanding. While critical pa din, pero hindi siya yung critical na ganitong level sa atin. Na pag may nagkakamali, parang hindi ibang-iba in the sense na imbis na working together as one, parating tinitingnan, ikaw yung gobyerno, kami yung hindi. Dapat hindi ganun. Dapat isa lang yung lahat.
Thank you. The next question is from Julian.
Hi, ma'am. One question again from Facebook. This is from Orly Fuentes. If fortunate to win as a VP, will we see a vice president in you will not just fall under the shadow of the president? If so, what concrete plans do you have in mind that you think you can turn into 100% realization during your 6 years?
Ako, alam mo, the reality is that what I will do in the next 6 years if elected would, to a large part, depend on the assignment that the president will give me. Parang it's in the law naman, it's in the Constitution that ako talaga katuwang ng Pangulo, pero yung Pangulo yung may kapangyarihan na mag-assign sa akin ng additional na trabaho. Pero yung sa akin, if given the choice, mas gusto ko sana hindi cabinet position so that hindi siya parang barred down by the daily admin thing. Gusto kong ayusin yung lahat na anti-poverty programs. Kasi doon naman ako nanggaling. When I say ayusin, ngayon napakarami na nating anti-poverty programs, pero tingin ko kasi ang dami pang room for improvement. Ang number one doon, yung accessibility ng tao na maka-take part dun sa mga programa. Ngayon yung bureaucratic red tape talagang ang grabe pa. Halimbawa na lang sa housing, bago maka-access, napakaraming opisinang pupuntahan, napakaraming pirma yung kailangan. Yung sa akin, gusto ko sana padaliin lahat. Padaliin yung tao na maka-access sa anti-poverty programs. Kasi bahagi naman yun ng serbisyo na dinideserve nila. Pero yung pagsabi na anti-poverty programs, parating patungo sa rural development. Yung sa akin, gusto ko, kasi yung opisina ng Vice President, parang nagko-command ka ng national attention. Na gusto ko, pinupuntahan ko yung mga probinsyang matagal na napag-iwanan. Pero marami yung potential at pwedeng ayusin yung development. Hindi siguro ako Vice President na parating nag-uupisina sa Coconut Palace. Mas gusto ko yung Vice President na nag-uupisina sa mga probinsya. Hindi para mamulitika, pero para paramdamin sa mga tao na yung gobyerno nandyan para sa kanila.
Balikan po natin yan mamaya kung sino ba nakatira sa Coconut Palace. Pero may tanong muna tayo from Joel Bibit from Facebook. Maliban sa mahihirap, may plano ka ba para sa aming nasa middle class? Kasi mahirap lang nakaka-avail ng mga libreng programa.
Ako ano naman to, yung sa akin, syempre meron. Pero yung sa atin naman, parati may sinasabi, to whom much is given, much is required. Ang gusto ko sabihin, na yung mas nakakaangat, hindi na muna, parang ano to, parang gusto nating maging equitable lahat. Yung mas kulang, yun yung mas pagbibigyan ng atensyon, yung mas marami, yun yung mas less na atensyon. Parati naman tayong may programa sa middle class, halimbawa yung pag-aayos ng public utilities, pag-aayos ng yung accessibility. Yung rural development ang magbe-benefit din dito, middle class, in the sense na marami ngayon na middle class na nawawalay sa kanilang pamilya dahil kailangan magtrabaho sa malayo. Yun yung gusto nating asikasuhin, na yung mga pamilya hindi na magkawalay-walay dahil may trabaho ng available sa lugar. Marami nung hindi pa ako, wala pa ako sa politika, marami kaming sinubukan na pag-aasikaso nito. Halimbawa, yung mga nanay na katulad namin na parating yung struggle everyday, paano i-juggle yung family sa katrabaho. Paano mo ba bibigyan ng para mas equitable access yung lahat na yung quality of life niya hindi na nagsasuffer pero kumikita siya. Paano yung nanay makaka-go on with working na hindi niya pinoproblema yung mga anak niya, yung mga ganun. Ako sa akin kasi yung rural development, ano yun eh, hindi mo lang tinutulungan yung mga nasa probinsya, pero tinutulungan mo din yung mga nasa Manila. Na naiis yung congestion dito, pag nais yung congestion dito, yung quality of life ng mga nagtatrabaho maayos kasi yung less time sa traffic, yung basic services, mas may access siya. Ano talaga to? Lahat naman magbe-benefit from this. Pero yung sinasabi lang natin, syempre yung mas kulang, yun din yung mas tutulungan.
Thank you. Thank you.
We all know that you are the ruling party's VP bet, but Jason Gaspar Maulit from Twitter wants to know, what are the top 3 criticisms that you can speak of the Aquino administration?
Ako dito sa Metro Manila, number 1 siguro traffic. Number 1 yung traffic. Number 2, kabahagi din ng traffic, yung inefficient mass transport system. Number 3, sinasabi ko yung mga urban na problema kasi yung rural iba. Yung number 3, internet connectivity. Talagang nagrereklamo tayo, hindi lang mabagal, hindi lang mahal, 'di ba? Pero yung reliability na napakahalaga, hindi lang sa mga kabataan, pero napakahalaga sa negosyo, napakahalaga sa paghahanap buhay. Parang ngayon parang human right na yung internet connectivity, 'di ba? Dahil malaking porsyon ng buhay natin nakaasa doon. Ito yung madalas na kritisismo na natatanggap ng gobyerno. Pero sa rural areas, gaya sa amin, iba din yung problema. Halimbawa, case to case kasi siya. Halimbawa sa amin, yung sinisigaw namin, walang maayos na highway papunta sa amin. Yung tren, hindi umaandar. Marami naman talaga. Pero yung sinasabi lang natin, siguro, yung agreement na totoong maraming kulang pero marami na din talagang naiba sa buhay natin. Maraming magandang naiba sa buhay natin kumpara to 6 years ago. Kaya yung sa akin lang, giving credit to where it is due, pero recognition also ng mga kakulangan.
Parang may pattern po dun sa both rural and urban problems. They all have to do with transportation and
communication. Totoo.
Babalikan natin.
Kasi much of what we're doing naman is dependent on that, 'di ba? Yung kabuhayan, yung halimbawa agri. Yung agriculture, problema pag mahirap yung transport, problema pag napakamahal ng pagpapadala ng produce kasi gaya sa amin, yung mga farmers namin hindi talaga competitive sa mga farmers ng Region 3. Kasi yung gastos lang ng pagpapadala ng produkto, talon-talon na talaga.
Julian?
Okay. Eto ma'am. We all know that BBL is a very sensitive issue, but here's a question from Twitter, from user @CorinaK28. I think Leni Robredo supports passage of BBL. Please ask how justice can be achieved for SA 44 even when working on BBL.
kasi, hindi, yung sa akin, mas mabibigyan nga ng hustisya pag magkaroon ng katahimikan sa Mindanao. Mas magkakaroon ng hustisya kasi nangyari lang naman yung mamasapan, no? Kasi magulo nga sa Mindanao. I think yung pinakamalaking justice na mabibigay natin is, ano yun natin, na yung pagkamatay nila is not in vain. Yung ating mga kapulisan pumunta doon to promote peace. Very unfortunate yung nangyari, kinukundina natin, palagay natin dapat hindi makalibre yung lahat na whether directly or indirectly responsible. Pero mas hindi natin magbibigyan ng hustisya sila. Pag despite the fact na sinakripisyo nila yung buhay nila, wala pa ding katahimikan na makakamtan.
Ma'am, we'd like to start with the follow-up questions now. So you spoke earlier about the tough act that this campaign is. When you were making the decision to run, who did you think was the leading candidate for vice president? Was that part, and was that identity that person part of the decision making?
Ako, Grace po. Kasi I knew for a fact that the party was setting its sights on her. And I was even praying when people were suggesting my name already, I was praying na sana tanggapin niya para hindi ako. She was doing very well in the surveys. Ano naman, yung sa akin nga, yun naman yung tinitingnan ko. Hindi ko alam kung may iba pang kinonsidera yung partido, pero ang alam ko siya yung kinukonsidera. And it would have been okay with me kung tinanggap niya. Tapos nung nag-announce siya, that was when the pressure on me became really, di ba, parang na-intensify. It was a difficult decision. In the sense na I was being very realistic about it. Alam ko kung sino yung mga tatakbo. Alam ko na I was nowhere in the league of these people who were setting their sights on the vice presidency. Pero sa akin naman kasi, parang it was a choice between personal convenience and obligation. Parang it was a choice between what is easy for us, what is easy for the family, and yung the chance to make a contribution to the society. Parang parang harakiri yung nangyari sa akin. When I accepted the challenge, talagang sad-sad ako sa surveys. I was at 1%. Ang leading yata noon was at 44 or somewhere in that area. Pero siguro kasi, parang all my life nasanay ako sa hardships. Kahit yung mga laban ng asawa ko dati, naging mahirap din. Yung buong buhay ko, yung pagiging abogado ko, yung pagkamatay ng asawa ko, yung congressional run ko, talagang hindi na sa akin alien yung ganito kahirap na laban. But of course, the magnitude of this fight is very different from the rest. Pero iniisip ko na lang nun, kung nakaya ko nga yung pagkamatay ng asawa ko, kaya ko na lahat.
So, but ma'am, now you are closing in.
Oo.
Right?
I'm 2 points behind the front runner.
2 points behind the front runner. Another definition of toughness. Is your rise in the surveys partly because you've not been afraid to speak out, let's say, against Bongbong Marcos or
Ako palagay ko it's a combination of many things. The reality is that it's a plus that I'm also new in the sense that I don't carry with me yet the baggages that other more seasoned politicians carry on their shoulders. Plus yun. But it's also minus in the sense that people are not very sure if you can do the job. Pero siguro, yun nga, kombinasyon siya. Siguro, actually, my strong stance against Bongbong was not really vote getting kasi when I did that, he was faring very good in the surveys already. Yung sa akin lang parang matter of obligation din na Actually, naluklok ako sa ganitong buhay also because my political awakening was really when Ninoy died. Eh. Kaya my husband and I met because of EDSA. Parang all my adult life, pati yung buhay ko, buhay naming mag-asawa was shaped by that. Kaya yung para sa akin, para tumahimik ngayon, parang I will be doing naman not only myself but my children and the future generations an injustice kung hindi ako magsasalita.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you've mentioned your late husband, Leni Robredo. It seems like he has been a lot of inspiration for you. What did you learn from him that you have applied now while you're campaigning as a VP bet? And do you have a particular program in mind that you would like to pursue for him?
Ako marami. Ako, it is true that my husband has really been the inspiration behind all this. Maraming lessons, pero mas yung inspiration. Pero my husband was in government for more than 20 years. Pero he was the same person that he was when he died. He was the same, parang he didn't change at all. In the sense na he was very aware of his vulnerabilities. Yung asawa ko parating nire-remind yung sarili niya kung sino siya at ano yung pinanggalingan niya. I think it was what made him tough against the many temptations that power brings. Parati niya kaming sinasabihan noon, ako saka yung mga bata na wag tayong masasanay. And he was referring to the perks and privileges of office. Tayo masasanay kasi pag nasanay tayo, baka hanap-hanapin natin. Parati niya ding sinasabi na it is good na parang our needs and our wants nasa tama lang. Kasi oras na tumaas yung ating mga wants na more than what we really need, dun na yung katapusan ng ating parang nung pag self-preservation. And I keep that in mind all the time, especially when I became a congresswoman already. Kasi yung reality talaga, maraming mga bagay na pagpipila na lang. Yung mga mag-o-offer sa'yo na to make things easy for you. Yung asawa ko tried to shun all this. And I think that was what made him not lose himself. Despite the many years in government. Ako, yun yung parati kong iniisip. Na wag ako dyan kasi si Jessie nga na-maintain niyang ganon. Wala akong karapatan na hindi ko ma-maintain. Ako bagong-bago pa lang, siya ang tagal na. Tapos siya talaga yung konsepto niya ng governance was really for government to be very transparent, for government officials to be accountable all the time, for government to open its doors to people participation, to give voice to as many people as possible. Ayun yung pinaka parang 3 core principles ng governance niya. And I think it worked very well.
You were talking about Coconut Palace kanina. And in your previous interviews, sinasabi niyo po na you plan to redefine the role of the Vice President and then that you would not aspire to become President after your term. Why is that po? Is this to prevent another P9?
Yung sa akin kasi yung worry ko, it's more for myself eh. Parang yung worry ko, kasi hindi malayo eh.
So you don't plan to stay in Coconut Palace?
Oo, if I would have a choice, I won't. Parang for me, it's too
It's only Vice
ostentatious.
President Binay who converted the palace.
Oo nga eh. Parang I think it's too ostentatious for a Vice President. Yung sa akin kasi, nire-remind ko lang yung sarili ko. Pag nag-ambisyon ako maging Pangulo, sabihin natin, Vice President ako, pag nag-ambisyon ako maging Pangulo, parang yung motivation ko na, yung election sa susunod, in the next 6 years, parang sasayangin ko yung opisina. Kasi yung lahat kong gagawin, lahat na vote getting. Hindi mo naman yun masaseparate eh. Hindi mo masasabing, kasi tao lang tayo eh. Parang mas mabuti pa na to draw a very clear line para hindi mahirap yung hindi ka pumipili pag merong sangangdaan. Mahirap yung niloloko mo yung sarili mo na yung niloloko mo yung sarili mo na kaya mong pagsabayin yung dalawa. I don't think it's possible. So, mas mabuti pang wag mag-ambisyon. Parang yung pagkandidato mo, sinasabi mo na sa sarili mo na pag pinalad ka, hanggang dito ka na lang.
Thank you. Let's move on to our second round of questions. So we'll have questions again from social media. But first, I'd like to thank our 5,000 live viewers right now on Facebook. Thank you for watching. Ma'am, I have a question from Twitter, from Peanut Gallery X. Some who trust Leni undecided on Mar. What can she tell people so they see Mar as she sees him?
Oh, kasi I wouldn't have accepted the offer if it were not for Mar. Kilala ko si Sec Mar because of my husband. My husband spoke very highly of him. Pero ngayon ko lang talaga siya lubusan na nakita as a person. And I've seen a very different side of him. Parang dati kasi yung tingin ko sa kanya, ang taas. Ang taas in the sense na yung mahirap maabot. He has been a friend of my husband, pero parang all the time that I knew of him before, ang tingin ko talaga napakataas. Pero now that nakakasama ko siya, ano siya eh, parang siguro all of us naman are in agreement na mahusay, matino. Pero yung sinasabi sa kanyang epal, not at all. Kasi maraming mga okasyon na nagkakasama kami na pwede siyang umepal pero ayaw niya. Nahihiya siya. Parang parati niyang sinasabi, pag inaaya kami halimbawa ng local officials, nasasabihin ng local official na punta tayo doon kasi marami doon tao, pwede tayong sumingit. Ayaw niya yon kasi disrespectful ng ano siya, parating concerned sa mga kasama. Talagang makikita mo na only has the country's best interest at heart. Parang pure yung puso. Ano lang talaga, marami lang pinagdaanan na hindi naging perpekto yung sitwasyon, na lahat na sisid dinadala sa kanya. Hindi naman siya perpektong tao. Hindi siya perpektong tao, pero ako naniniwala ako na of all the presidentiables, siya yung pinakakarapat dapat na maging pangulo. Hindi lang dahil mahusay, hindi lang dahil matino, pero talagang yung kombinasyon ng dalawa, nabihira nang makita sa isang public official. Very decent guy. Ano talaga? Kahit yung mga anak ko, my daughters were so against my running. Pero when they finally did agree for me to run, Secretary Mar was the first person I called. Sabi ko sa kanya, Sec, pumapayag na yung mga anak ko. He invited the family over sa bahay niya. Pagdating namin doon, he invited us for dinner. That was a Saturday night. My announcement was on a Monday. Pagdating namin for dinner, pag upo namin, sabi ng panganay kong anak sa kanya, Sec, kung hindi ikaw ito, hindi talaga kami papayag. Gusto kong sabihin, buo yung tiwala namin. And syempre, nandun yung pagnanais na sana kung paano namin siya nakikita. Ganon din yung ibang tao.
Thank you. Again, we will have a chance to ask follow-up questions, but the next question is...
Here's another question about Secretary Mar. From Nelan, from the chat up line. Bilang VP ni Mar Rojas, ano po ang epekto sa kandidatura ninyo ng mga paninira nila kay presidential candidate Mar Rojas? So ano po yung effect nung mga negative na sinasabi tungkol kay Mar Rojas sa inyong sariling kandidatura?
Siyempre, kahit papano, dahil ako yung kanyang running mate, na-affect ako. Na-affect in the sense na marami nagsasabi, sa'yo sana kami, kaya lang ganito yung sinamahan mo. Pero I think it's part naman of the equation. Parang, gano'n naman talaga. Hindi naman talaga perpekto yung parati yung sitwasyon. Pero ako proud ako na siya yung aking running mate. Kung ano man yung mga negative, kasama yan sa kwento.
Ma'am, yun nga. from Secmar. Recently, Governor Pineda recently declared her support for LP candidates. And it didn't sit well with some people. So any message to your former supporters who lost faith in you when you allied with the Pinedas? This is from Twitter, from user ChiliMed.
Ako kasi kami kandidato, lahat naman namin hinihingian ng tulong. Pero iba kasing usapan kung yung tulong binigay sa'yo with conditions. Iba yung usapan na yung tulong sa'yo, parang sinulisit mo and merong mga pinagdaanan na proseso. Remember that Governor Pineda is an incumbent governor na voluntarily binigay yung kanyang support sa amin. Na very thankful kami. Pero yung pagbibigay ng support, wala naman yung kondisyon. Walang hinihinging kahit ano. Ano naman to? Siyempre, yung message lang na sana makita nila yung buong picture. Kasi parang mahirap naman na para mapanghusga tayo masyado. Siguro tingnan natin yung para mga kondisyon nung binigay yung suporta. Kami naman, nagpapasalamat kami sa suportang binigay. Kasi yun naman, sabi ko nga kanina, voluntary yun binigay. Hindi yun as if na nagsolicit ka tapos sinabing susuportahan kita basta ganito. O susuportahan kita basta suportahan mo yung ganito. Wala namang ganun.
Okay, ma'am. Saan ba yan? From Mar to Marcos. Here's actually an angry post from Facebook from Tess de los Santos. Let me just read the first few lines. Bakit ba sa lahat ng kandidato, pilit mong sinisira si Senator BB Marcos? Sa palagay mo ba, siya lang ang makasalanan sa mundo ng politika? Hindi pa ba mulat ang isip mo sa nangyayari sa ating kapaligiran? Gaano ba kalinis ang pagkatao mo?
Ako palagay ko naman tama siya in the sense na wala naman sa ating perpekto. Wala naman sa ating perpekto, kahit naman ako, hindi naman ako paragon of virtue. Marami din ako mga mali na nagagawa. Pero yung sa atin lang, pag nagkakamali kasi tayo o may mali, kailangan i-acknowledge yung kamalian. Kasi yung problema lumalaki pag hindi in-acknowledge yung kamalian. Kasi pag hindi mo in-acknowledge, gusto bang sabihin, yung paniniwala mo, tama yun. Doon tayo, yun yung nagkukos sa atin ng anxiety. Na may maling nangyari in the past pero walang acceptance ng kamalian. Kung walang acceptance, as ino-offer mo yung sarili mo to a position as high as the vice presidency, nandun yung danger na yung mga mali in the past na pinaglabanan natin, maraming nagbuwis ng buhay, maraming, di ba parang maraming nag-go through so much suffering sa pakikilaban para makamtan natin yung kalayaan natin ngayon. Tapos walang, yung mga may contribution sa pagkakamali, walang acceptance noon. Yung danger na mauulit yun, parating nandyan. And ayaw natin yung mangyari. Kaya sa atin naman, hindi natin hinuhusgahan yung mga nagkakamali na tinanggap yung pagkakamali. Kasi lahat naman tayo nagkakamali. Kahit ako nagkamali in the past, magkakamali pa din in the future. Pero mahalaga, in-accept natin yung pagkakamali, humingi tayo ng tawad para makamove forward. Pero pag sinabi mong marami na nga nag-suffer, pero sinabi mo walang mali doon, ibang usapan yon.
Thank you. Time?
In case Secmar doesn't win for the presidency, El Grande from Twitter is asking, Ms. Robredo, will you be an effective VP to a President Duterte?
Ako naman, it's part of the job description. Siyempre, if we had the choice, syempre gusto ko yung running mate ko yung mananalo. Pero ang job description ng pag-apply namin, kabahagi yun na walang assurance na mananalo yung Pangulo mo. At kahit hindi Pangulo mo yung mananalo, kung ano yung commitment mong itutulong sa Pangulo mo should be exactly the same commitment na ibibigay mo sa mananalo. Nothing less than that. Kasi kung hindi mo mapapromise yung level of commitment na yun, dapat hindi ka na kumandidato. Diba? Kaya yung sa akin naman, yung ma-assure ko, of course, I would have wanted for both of us to win. But if it's just me, I am promising now exactly the same level of commitment that I'm promising Secmar.
Another question from Twitter. Some who trust Leni are undecided on Mar. But what can she tell people so they
Parang
see Mar
natanong mo
as
na
she
yun.
sees?
Parang,
Asked,
I'm sorry.
parang,
Okay. Oh my God. Another question. Okay.
sorry, she's also writing a story right
Yeah.
now as we speak. So,
multitasking.
How are you going to adjust yourself if ever you win for the VP position but Mar doesn't? This is from Marion Luis Revilla.
so in general,
Oo, ako, again, uulitin ko lang, whoever wins the presidency, just in case I win the vice presidency, would have my 100% trust and support. Pero yung sa akin, yung first part of the question, paano,
How would you adjust yourself?
how would you adjust yourself? Yung sa akin, yung mas personal side of it. Ako, I have to insist on parang maintaining my core. Kasi yun din yung, ngayon kasi nakikita ko yung mga big time na mga politiko na parang I can't imagine myself having a life like that. Na gusto bang sabihin hindi na ako makakabus? Gusto bang sabihin hindi na ako makaka-Uber o makaka-taxi? Yung mga ganon. Yung mga those questions na hindi naman it doesn't follow, 'di ba? Parang naging naging practice lang na pag VP ka, parang big time ka, you're expected to go around with a full entourage of security people, pero it doesn't have to be that way, di ba? Parang ako mas tinitingnan ko na pag ako yung binigyan doon, the real challenge is really to redefine the office na mas accessible, yung accessible na hindi sa politika, pero mas accessible na government official na. Kasi yun nga if you want to be an inspirational guide, people should, 'di ba, relate to you eh. Kaya I think it's possible. Basta I just have to parang be stubborn about it.
ma'am, question from Clarine on Twitter. Ano po ang mga plano nyo sa sektor ng edukasyon? Masusolusyonan ba ang budget cut ng UP system?
Ako dapat, oo. Pag tiningnan po natin yung budget ng ating gobyerno sa tertiary education, napakababa nung per capita budget natin kumpara sa per student budget ng mga katabi nating mga bansa. Dapat mapalitan ito. Kung gusto nating makapag-compete yung ating mga graduates with the graduates of our hindi lang neighbors, pero yung mga graduates ng ibang bansa, kailangan mas bigyan natin ito ng mas maraming budget. Hindi lang budget pagdating sa scholarships, that's one. Yung sa akin lang, dapat yung kahirapan hindi siya nagiging dahilan. Ayoko mag-promise na libre lahat kasi palagay ko mahirap yon. Pero yung sa akin na yung pinaka-target ko na yung kahirapan hindi siya nagiging dahilan para hindi makapag-aral. Dapat may sapat na budget doon yung gobyerno. Pero pangalawa, bigyan ng gobyerno na mas maraming budget at least yung state colleges and universities na mas yung teacher development, yung research, yung lahat na facilities na kailangan para maging at par tayo sa ibang mga paaralan all over the world. Sana hindi tayo naglalag behind. Ano talaga? Tingin ko yung gobyerno kailangan for the past 5 or so years natutukan natin yung basic education. Kahit napakahirap na nakalusot na yung K-12, ina-anticipate natin na maraming birthing pains ito. Pero the fact na it is already a policy of the government is one huge step towards being at par with other countries. Pero it's about time natutukan na din talaga yung tertiary education.
So I know that rural development is one of your advocacies. Jay Soon from Twitter wants to know, what should the government do to encourage more young people to choose farming as a profession? Dapat
ayusin yung agriculture. Kasi unless and until hindi maging maging lucrative yung pagpa-farm, wala talaga magi-interest. Pwede mong i-incentivize yung mga estudyante by providing more scholarships dun sa mga bata na kumuha ng kurso sa agriculture. Pero hanggang konti yung income from agriculture. Kahit anong gawin mong pagbigay ng scholarships o pagdagdag ng resources sa mga agricultural schools, wala ding maiengganyo. Parang nursing lang yan, na yung maraming nakakapangibang bansa, ang daming di ba, ang daming kumukuha ng nursing, naging uso yung PT, ganun din. Yung agriculture, ganun din. Pag nakita ng mga kabataan na magiging maayos yung buhay nila pag sila ay mga magsasaka, maraming magsasaka. Ngayon, kung titingnan natin, yung average age ng farmer is 57 years old. Nakakalungkot yon in the sense na dadating yung, pag hindi natin naayos ito, dadating yung panahon na wala nang magsasaka. Kailangan talagang tutukan yung agriculture. Yung sa akin, para tutukan ito, mas bigyan sanang focus yung food security rather than self-sufficiency. Kasi talagang marami tayong disadvantages. Pag pinilit yung self-sufficiency na hindi natin tinitingnan yung food security. Kaya nung naging congressman ako ng distrito ko, yung agriculture sa distrito ko, mas inano ko talaga siya sa food security. Para lang yung pinakamahihirap na mga magsasaka, maiangat man lang yung buhay. Kasi kung titingnan natin, hindi lang magsasaka, pati mga mangingisda. Kung titingnan natin, yung among the most poor, number 1 yung fisher folk, number 2 yung farmers. And nakakalungkot kasi ito pa naman yung opportunity para sa atin kasi by and large talagang agricultural country tayo.
This is a question from Madge Dison on Facebook, sa Facebook. In what areas would women need to be more empowered or have more participation? And what will you do to enable women to participate further?
Ako, number 1 sa akin, economic empowerment. And I'm saying this because I've been lawyering for battered women. I belong to an NGO before, and one of the sectors of society that we have been helping are women. Maraming mga kaso ng violence inside the homes. Marami kaming nire-rescue, tinutulungan. We have been training women leaders how to deal with victims of violence. Tinatrain namin yung mga barangay officials kung paano magre-respond to violence. Pero walang nangyayari hanggang yung babae hindi economically empowered. Kasi kahit pa alam niyang nasa abusive relationship siya, talagang bumabalik siya para lang wag mawalay sa mga bata. Kaya sa amin, when we realized that was the gap, and dinevelop talaga namin economic empowerment for women, yung ginawa namin, talagang siniguro na matulungan yung mga kababaihan na mapadali yung struggle niya between family and home. Halimbawa, yung mga nag-uopisina mga kababaihan na malaking percentage nito, somewhere along the way, nagre-resign sa trabaho kasi walang mag-aalaga sa mga anak. Yung sa amin, sinubukan namin na mag-require sa mga malalaking opisina na magkaroon ng child minding centers para yung mga pumapasok na mga kababaihan, hindi na siya na-face with the daily struggle of iiwan ko ba yung anak ko, magtatrabaho ako. Kasi kung madadala niya na yung anak niya sa trabaho, may facility na aalagaan yun, makakapagtrabaho siyang maayos, hindi niya kailangang i-give up yung ang kanyang trabaho. Yung mga kababaihan naman na hindi talaga pwedeng umalis ng bahay dahil nag-aalaga ng mga anak, bigyan ng pagkakataon na kahit nag-aalaga sila ng mga anak, may chance pa din sila makapaghanap buhay, kahit konti. Kasi yung konting income na yun, nakakadagdag sa kanilang self-confidence. Yung sa amin, yung ginawa namin, kasi yung madali lang sabihin yung livelihood. Pero hanggang hindi mo siya kinonect sa market, hanggang hindi mo siya kinonect sa demand, nafo-frustrate lang sila eh. Yung training ng training, pero after the training, gagawa ng produkto, tapos wala namang mapapuntahan yung produkto nila. So kami, yung trinabaho namin, ito-training sila sa mga bagay na meron ng market para sigurado nang may kita. ito, pag economically empowered na kasi yung babae, everything else follows. Mas pag nagiging mas confident siya, mas participative na siya. Mas participative siya sa community, mas may oras na siya para sa lahat kasi yung confidence niya nandun. Pero pag hindi economically empowered, parang she is ready to take abuse anytime eh. Kasi may feeling of dependence. Yun yung ayaw nating mangyari. Parang it is one thing to say na parang isigaw gender equality, etc. Pero hindi naman to naiintindihan ng rural women eh. Yung masyadong, yung mga gender sensitivity trainings, parang madali lang tong sabihin sa upper, saka sa middle class. Pero sa mga rural women na hindi naman masyadong exposed, mas naiintindihan nila yung economic empowerment eh. Kaya yung mas practical, ano ba yung magdadagdag ng pagkain sa lamesa? Kasi pag meron ito kahit konti, ang laking incremental increase sa paniniwala nila sa sarili. Pag naniniwala sila sa sarili, mas mabuti silang asawa, mas mabuti silang ina ng mga anak nila.
Ma'am, given your perspective, your emphasis on rural development, your experience in providing food security to the farmers in your district, sa tingin niyo, ano ba talaga nangyari sa Kidapawan? And how could it have been avoided?
Ako kasi, as of now, we're hearing so many voices. Parang wala ako sa lugar para sabihin na ito yung tama, ito yung mali. Parang of the voices we are hearing, gusto ko lang ilagay sa tamang perspective. Na yung finger pointing kasi hindi siya nakakabuti. In the sense na, palagi ko ang first question, may legitimate bang problema? Kung merong legitimate na problema, ang tanong, ano yung ginagawa natin para i-address yung legitimate na problema? Kasi tayo yung gobyerno. Kung yung claim na infiltrated yung ating mga farmers, ang tanong natin sunod, bakit nangyayari? Tas bakit natin hinayaan mangyari? Palagay ko yung tingin ko kasi yung mga maraming boses, lahat naman may katwiran, lahat may katotohanan yung mga sinasabi. Pero para ilagay lang sa tamang, mas tinitingnan ko siya sa problem-solving point of view. Na sabihin na nating may kasalanan ng lahat. What now? Anong gagawin natin? Diba? May kasalanan yung pulis, may kasalanan yung gobyerno, may kasalanan yung magsasaka, may kasalanan yung left na nag-infiltrate. Pero sabihin na natin na totoo yun lahat, ano na yung gagawin natin? Yung sa akin lang, sana hindi lang ma-model yung issue with sisihan. Kasi pag na-model yung issue with sisihan, baka nakakalimutan natin na talagang mas marami na hindi naman kalahok doon, pero talagang nagsasuffer nung legitimate na claims. Kasi again, wala ako sa posisyon para sabihin ikaw yung tama o ikaw yung mali. Pero yung sinasabi lang natin, balik lang tayo sa basics. Ano yung problema? Totoo bang nangyayari yung problema? Bakit nangyayari at anong gagawin natin? Yun lang. Tapos, yung investigation should be ongoing, but without sacrificing the fact that indeed, there may have been many farmers out there na who are getting hungry. Yun lang. Yung sa akin, gusto ko naman malaman kung ano yung tunay na nangyari. Pero sana ma-separate siya from, sana i-treat siya na incident. Pero tingnan yung mas bigger picture na ano ba yung pwede nating magawa dun sa mga naghihirap na mga kababayan natin.
Going back to the electoral campaign, I don't know if you have seen it on Facebook, but you have some supporters who are promoting badges, pairing you up with other presidential candidates.
I haven't seen any of them yet.
And well, in the past, you've been paired up with the likes of Senator Grace Poe, for example, who is
I have
said
seen
to
a
be-
poster.
yeah.
Pero yung badges, hindi ko pa nakita.
So, of all the other presidential candidates, excluding Mar Rojas, who would you be most comfortable working with?
Ako, I cannot really say. Kasi I do not know any one of them naman personally. I only know of Secretary Mar. Parang Vice President Binay, I only know of him. I don't even know if we've met already personally. Si Mayor Duterte, I know of him. Pero mukhang hindi pa din kami nag-meet personally. Senator Grace, I met her a few times, but not enough time to really get to know her. So I can't really say kung kanino ako magiging komportable.
Ma'am, this may be a personal question, but what do you do when you start feeling tired after campaigning and going around the country? What keeps you going?
Ako, I am weird in that way eh. Kasi parang before the official campaign period started, I was already going around introducing myself, but I was given 1 day off every week. Yung 1 day off, parang sinasabihan ako ng campaign team that that's your day to really catch up on sleep, to rest. Pero I can't seem to do that. Pag umuwi ako sa bahay, nanay pa din. Nag-aayos ng lahat na kailangang ayusin. I was a very organized person before I became a candidate. Tapos yun yung chance ko na mag-catch up on organizing the things of my children, yung papers, pati yung lahat sa bahay. Buti na lang maliit yung bahay ko, kaya the very little time I have mukhang sufficient naman. Pero I'm not the type kasi who would sleep all day. I envy people who can eh. Kasi may mga kakilala ako na when they want to sleep, they can do several hours of sleep. Ako, I sleep anywhere. Sanay ako nun. Parang when I'm in the car, I sleep. When I'm on the plane, I sleep. Pero hindi yung pag nasa bahay, parang I'd rather spend time with the kids. Pag umuwi ako, right, like ngayon, umuwi ako kadalasan late na. Pag umuwi ako, yung 2 kong anak nag-aaral pa. We live in a condo, maliit lang. So, ang ginagawa ko habang nag-aaral sila sa living room, nandun lang ako, doon ako nakakatulog. Pag ready na silang pumunta sa bedroom, ginigising nila ako, mama, tutulog na. Pero that's how I distress. Before, I still had time to watch movies with my kids or eat out, pero now, not anymore. Parang I'd rather stay with them while they're studying.
Okay. Time to move on to our third round. I think we actually have a lot of questions, but we only have like 12 minutes left. First of all, I'd like to thank the 5,400 live viewers on Facebook and the 2,000 live viewers online, on air. Thank you for following us. Ma'am, I have a question here, Twitter. Sorry, I already asked a question from this guy, but let me ask it again. Ask a question from him again. Peanut Gallery X. A lot of kids like Leni. What can she tell these kids who think the Philippines doesn't need K-12?
Ako parang it's necessary for us to be able to compete with the other countries. We're one of the only 2 countries in the world na hindi pa K-12. Mahirap sa mga graduates natin makipag-compete sa iba. Knowing na tayo may 10 years lang of basic education, yung iba 12 years. It's painful. Like, yung anak ko is grade 10 now. Dapat sana graduate na siya this year, pero K-12 siya. Siyempre, naiinis siya. Kasi college na sana siya, pero may 2 years pa siya ng high school. But I always explain to her that this is for your own good. Naman ito, it's preparatory to college. Again, hindi to perfecto. Parang it's a necessary evil we have to contend with. Pero in the long run, magbe-benefit tayo din. Mahirap siya sa umpisa in the sense na naghahabol pa tayo sa facilities. Siyempre, kaya yung sinasabi ko kanina, birthing pains, lahat pa nag-a-adjust sa bagong sistema. Pero parang, halimbawa, ang kwento ko sa anak ko, magiging guinea pigs kayo kasi kayo yung first batch ng K-12. Pero I think it's for the good of everyone. Ako, I can just imagine kung ano yung frustration ng mga kids na gusto na mag-graduate this year and be in college next year. Pero yun, parang sila yung sakripisyo in one sense, pero in the end, sila din yung mag-benefit nito.
Thank you.
This one is from Jungkooki from Line. Ma'am, how can we save the Spratly Islands while there are threats from claimant countries like China?
Yun, malaking problema yun. Malaking problema. Yung una nating ginawa, nagsubmit tayo sa isang arbitration na proseso na I think should really be done by the country. Pero while waiting for, di ba, parang while waiting for the International Court of Justice to decide, hindi naman pwedeng naghihintay lang tayo ng walang ginagawa. Marami tayong pwedeng gawin. Halimbawa, yung modernization ng military, pwede yung pag-ukulan ng pansin. Kasi kung hindi tayo mag-modernize, parang parati tayong at the mercy of other countries dahil hindi natin kayang physically defend yung sariling bansa natin. Number two, baka pwedeng i-strengthen natin yung diplomacy efforts with the other countries na meron ding claims against China. Kasi tingin ko pag nagkaisa tayo lahat sa pakikilaban na to, mas malakas yung boses natin. Yung bargaining power, mas malakas kung yung countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Philippines, magkaisa na parang isang boses lang yung ipapakita. Pangatlo, parang patuloy pa din na maghanap ng peaceful means of settling the case with China. Pero mas mabuti yung multilateral approach, hindi bilateral. Kasi alam naman natin ngayon na yung China, considered more powerful than the Philippines still. And wala tayo, parang hindi tayo equal footing. Kaya mabuti talagang pero hindi sumusuko. Pag sinabi ko hindi sumusuko, hindi natin nilalagay yung lahat na eggs natin in one basket, yung arbitration case. Dapat patuloy na hinahanap. Pero ang end nito, parating yung sovereignty natin yung pinaglalaban.
Julian?
Ma'am, this is a question from Twitter. Balik nung sa Kadapawan incident. Among the candidates, it's you who gave a sensible statement according to the Twitter user, on the Kadapawan issue. Did you try to discuss or share this with Pinoy and Rojas? Your views on this? What did they say to you? And follow up doon, if you were the president or the vice president, what would you have done immediately after learning about the violent dispersal?
I haven't had the chance to discuss this with either the president or Secretary Mar. Hindi ako nagkaroon ng pagkakataon. Pero I was with Secretary Mar that day. Although, kasi kami, parang the day it happened, magkasama kami, pero I was on the phone all the time, coordinating efforts with other local government officials. Pero sa akin lang, kailangan very swift yung action na paparamdam sa una yung paghahanap ng solusyon doon sa insidente. Pero like I said earlier, na pera dun sa paghahanap ng solusyon, in that case, investigation, mas tutuunan din ang pansin yung root cause ng problema. Tapos magbigay ng klarong mensahe sa constituents na seryoso sa paghahanap ng solusyon sa problema. Kasi paminsan seryoso naman yung solusyon na ginagawa, pero hindi nako-communicate ng maayos. So, paminsan, yung iba merong impression na walang ginagawa. Paminsan, yung iba may impression na dapat sana ganito, pero hindi ginawa. Na when in fact, oo naman, hindi lang na-communicate properly. So tingin ko, yun, kung tanggapin ka agad, kung merong pagkakamali, kung merong accountable, pasagutin, pasagot agad dun sa mga accountable. Ang importante dito, buo yung tiwala ng mamamayan kung may investigasyon na, buo yung tiwala ng mamamayan na yung investigasyon hindi magiging biased. Kahit pa alam mo naman na hindi magiging biased, importante din yung messaging na hindi biased. Paano ito magiging importante? Na yung mga kalahok dun sa operations, parang ipasantabi muna, hindi sumali sa investigasyon para hindi mabahiran ng pagtingin na may whitewash na mangyayari. Kasi parati namang ganun, pag gobyerno ka, hindi lang importante yung ginagawa mo, pero importante na nako-communicate ng maayos yung ginagawa para para yung tao nararamdaman niyang hindi siya outsider. Alam mo yun, parang pag yung tao kasi nararamdaman niyang hindi siya bahagi ng gobyerno, parati siyang may distrust. Yun dapat yung naalis, yung distrust. Kapag yung gobyerno should exert more effort na yung mag-reach out. Mag-reach out sa constituency, ipaliwanag kung ano yung ginagawa at saan yung direksyon ng ginagawa. Para lang maramdaman ng constituency na kabahagi siya.
Ma'am, we just have a few minutes left. We'll try to ask as many questions as we
Sige
can.
lang.
Maybe you can favor us with, one sentence answers. You said you don't want to be a big-time politician in the sense that you'll be going around with bodyguards and all that. Are you saying that if you become vice president, you won't take the bus home to Naga anymore?
Ako, I will still take the bus to Naga. Siguro ang magiging compromise yan, may kasama na ako. Kasi
Bibili ka ng apat na tickets.
kasi all the time, I take the bus alone eh. Even now, that I am already a candidate, I still take the bus alone. Pero siguro pwede maging compromise eh. Kasama kang staff. Pero ito yung hindi mo na iistorbo yung mga tao. Kasi yun yung pinakamasama. Yung pinakaayoko, yung feeling na pumupunta ka sa lugar para makatulong, pero yung pinuntahan mo, sila pa yung naistorbo dahil pumunta ka. Yun yung nararamdaman ko yun sa ibang pinupuntahan namin na, you're going there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and people are made to wait for you for several hours. Parang, di ba, pumunta ka nga para makatulong. Bakit nakaka-istorbo ka pa? Yun yung pinaka-resistance ko dun sa big time na, na kung tutulong ka, siguraduhin mo na yung net effect ng pagpunta mo talaga nakatulong.
You said that you don't want to have an ambition for the presidency, so you could focus on the VP. But several people actually asked this on social media. Are you ready to become president if something happens?
Pero kasali kasi yun sa job description. Di ba? Ang job description ng vice president, magiging presidente ka kung if something happens to the president. Pero iba ito dun sa pag-aambisyon. Yung pag-aambisyon, hindi dun pinag-uusapan yung readiness eh. Pero yung pag-aambisyon na baka sa pag-ambisyon mo magamit mo sa mali yung posisyon. Pero it doesn't mean na hindi ka mag-aambisyon kasi hindi ka ready. Kasi when you aspire for the vice presidency, parang you take an oath that you're ready to become president anytime eh. Diba?
Yeah.
Ma'am, are there any agendas in the Daang Matuwid that you want to change or you want to personally oversee?
Hindi naman. Kasi when we crafted our platform, parang I was given a voice in it eh. Kaya yung kung ano yung pinapalabas ngayon na platform ng Daang Matuwid, it was jointly prepared by both of us. Ay, yung sa akin na marami nang ginawa yung administrasyon na to, pero marami pang hindi nagagawa. Halimbawa, yung ekonomiya natin, bumuti na, pero yung inclusive growth, hindi pa ramdam talaga. So, kailangan mas paigtingin natin na siguraduhin na yung gains ng administrasyon na to, makapunta talaga dun sa kung kanino siya dapat mapunta. Marami ng anti-poverty programs ngayon yung gobyerno, pero ang dami nang natanggal sa statistics ng poverty incidence. Pero marami pa ding naiwan. So talagang kulang pa. Yung platform naman ng Daang Matuwid, hindi lang niya sinasabi na ipagpapatuloy yung nagginawa ng administrasyon na to. Pero ang sinasabi niya lang, eto na yung mga nagawa, eto pa yung mga kailangan gawin.
Ma'am, I hope you don't mind if we extend by a few minutes.
Sige lang.
Again, maybe I can ask a series of questions. What are you proudest of in your first term as Congresswoman?
Ako, that I was able to change the mindset of my constituency. Parang meron pa ba? One-liner lang.
You wanna answer? Yeah, sure.
Kasi ibang-iba yung mindset before. Yung tinitingnan nila, yung congressman hingian ng tulong. Pero when I became congresswoman, alam nila na hindi ako nagbibigay from my own pocket. Alam nila na everything comes from government. And they have to earn everything. Gaya nung ginawa ng asawa ko sa Naga, I think in a way, although 3 years is not nearly enough, I think in a way, nararamdaman na ng aking mga constituents that They are part of government. They have a stake in it. Pero they are not just beneficiaries, but they are partners in development. They are stakeholders. They have a stake in all the successes and failures of government. Ngayon, tingin ko mas proud sila sa sarili nila. Wala sa aming dole out, walang libre. Lahat dapat pinagpapaguran. And it's so different from the past administration sa mga nauna sa akin. Now, when I was starting, kahit yung mga kakampi ko, kasi yung distrito ko is Naga plus 7 towns eh. Parang my husband was able to transform Naga but not the neighboring towns. When I was campaigning during the for the 2013 elections, maraming parinig sa akin na akala mo pwede yan dito sa amin, pwede lang yan sa Naga, dito sa amin iba. Kung hindi ka susunod ng mga kinasanayan dito, hindi ka mananalo. Parang ako nagbibingi-bingian kasi wala naman talaga akong ibibigay. Pero when I was given a chance to lead, and I was able to show them that pwede naman pala yung ganito. Pwede naman pala na tayo magtutulungan, hindi lang kayong aasa sa akin. Na pag tayo nagtutulungan, mas marami pa kayong ma-achieve. Ngayon I think everyone in my district, except of course my built-in political enemies, pero I think almost everyone in my district would agree. Now, we're much better off now than we were 3 years ago.
Ma'am, win or lose in the vice presidential contest, you won't be returning to Congress. What will you miss most
In
from being a
Congress,
Congress?
I think the constituency work. It's what I enjoy the most, more than my legislative work. And maybe also because I'm more at home being with ordinary people than rubbing elbows with colleagues. Ano yun? Sessions are from Mondays until Wednesdays. But I look forward to Wednesdays when after going out of Congress, I go straight to Cubao, to the bus terminal, board the bus, travel for 10 hours. I don't mind it at all kasi alam ko na pagdating ko doon, gagawin ko yung gusto kong ginagawa. Sa Congress, parating parang may lethargic na feeling, parang umupo ka lang the whole day, attending committee hearings, pagod na pagod ka. Pero when I'm in my district, lumalakad ako paminsan 3 hours each way, hindi ako napapagod. And maybe it's because it's something that I love doing. Kaya siguro, if I lose these elections, I'll go back to development work. It was my work before I became a congresswoman. And ngayon na-realize ko, it's what I love doing.
Ma'am, the only official vice presidential debate is in a few days, Sunday,
On
April
Sunday.
10. If the format allows you to ask a question of your fellow candidates, what question would you ask?
Ako baka mapaghandaan ng aking.
Okay, I don't think they're on Facebook right now. So, what kind of question would you want to ask, let's say, Cheese Escudero?
Cheese? Ako kasi mas tinitingnan ko, depende sa kung ano yung sasabihin nila doon eh. And most probably, my rebuttal would be to ask them about some points that they made in their statements. Like yung Go Negosyo Forum, 4 of us were there. Doon, nirebat ko si Cheese because sinabi niya na eto yung programa ko para sa mga mahihirap. And I reminded him that it is already an ongoing program of the government, so there was really nothing new. Parang ganon. Parang siguro magre-react lang ako sa mga sasabihin.
Okay. Ma'am, can we get a definitive answer from you? If you become vice president, you are not going to stay in the Coconut Palace?
No.
It's gonna be like a coconut condo or something. You won't, so that's gonna be...
Oo.
Okay.
Siguro, I don't know eh. I don't really know. Pero, yung hindi na magsuspend yung gobyerno. Yung kung ano yung available dyan, hindi naman ako sanay sa magandang opisina. Even my office in Congress is very, very basic, very bare. It's gaano ba yung kalaki na wala nang galawan. Sanay naman ako sa ganon. Ako, basta yung basic lang nandun, it doesn't have to be... It's not like I will always be entertaining people. Kasi kung mag-entertain, baka meron naman, pwede naman gamitin yung Malacanang sa pag-entertain. Pero yung ayoko lang, sa akin, mas symbolic yung pag-ayaw. Yung ostentatiousness kasi nung lugar, I think we will be sending the wrong message to our people. pag sinabi kong I want to be an inspirational guide, tapos nag-uopisina ako sa isang napakagandang lugar, parang ironic yun. Gusto ko pag sinabi kong I will be one with the people, pati yung symbolisms nandun.
Ma'am, you were a champion of Freedom of Information bill, and you worked with Senator Grace on this also. What really happened? How come it didn't pass? What was the main
Malaki
reason?
talaga yung resistance sa House of Representatives. Malaki yung resistance sa House of Representatives. And we didn't have enough time to convince people. Unang-una, yung version, there were 24 versions of the bill in the House. Sa Senado, isa lang yung version eh. Sa amin, there were 24 versions, 36 authors. So it was really painful just going through the technical working group hearings. It took us a year to finish the technical working group version. Yung kabutihan lang doon, na-pick up yung version ko na yung version kasing lumabas sa Senate, demand-driven yung FOI, which means that nakalagay doon sa version ng Senate, if people demand information from government is obliged to make public the information. Yung my version naman, kinonvert ko yun into a supply-driven one na even when there's no demand, it is already the obligation of the government to make public that information. Maraming problema. Like, halimbawa, nung umpisa, sinasabi nila na Malacanang was against it. Well, Malacanang wasn't really against it. I'm speaking from 2013 down. Kasi I don't know what happened before 2013. But when I was trying to draft my own version of the bill, sinabi ng palasyo kung ano yung kanilang anxieties about the traditional version of the bill. Halimbawa, ang tanong nila, kung tama yung sinasabi niyo, halimbawa, this is a room full of people. Sabihin natin, meron tayong 100 people dito. Lahat tayo magre-request from one office ng isang document. So yung opisina, obligadong bigyan yung bawat isa. Parang sinasabi ng Malacanang, hindi ba masyadong tedious yun na gusto bang sabihin bawat opisina, maglalagay kami ng separate office just to take care of all FOI requests. Tama naman siya. So paano natin sinagot yung kanyang concerns? Sinagot natin yun by making it supply-driven. Hindi mo nahihintayin na may mag-request from you. Obligasyon mo nang i-upload yung information. Ang sunod na tanong, paano kung yung gusto kong information wala dun sa in-upload? That's the time that you make the request. Pero ginagawa mong mas efficient yung bureaucracy. Saka, ang tanong natin, bakit tayo may FOI? Hindi naman ito para maghanap tayo ng mali. Hindi naman to para nag-witch hunt tayo. Pero meron tayong FOI kasi gusto nating i-empower yung citizens by access to information. Gusto nating i-train yung mga tao na eto yung available sa inyo yung information, mag-engage kayo with government. Kasi pag sinabing FOI, at least karamihan sa mga politiko, yun yung concern. Na pag may FOI ba, baka abusuhin ng media. So yung iba gusto ng right of reply, na yun, kinontra namin yun, at nanalo yung walang right of reply. Pero parang nakakalimutan kasi kung ano yung tunay na sadya ng FOI. Parang tinitingnan ng FOI na laban between government officials and media. And it's not the case at all. Parang may FOI para mas engaged yung citizen sa governance, 'di ba? So, yun din, yung pag-change din ng mindsets.
Ma'am, maybe the last 2 or 3 questions. Let's talk about the vice presidential race again. It's a very close contest in the same way that the presidential contest is also close as 1992. What is your reading of the vice presidential race? Would the first candidate to reach 30% be are we looking at a 30% mandate?
Ako, alam mo dyan, I'm the worst person to ask about this because I don't know politics at all. Yung people in my team are the ones making the analysis. Para ako, I just approach people, ask for help. Pero itong pag-a-analyze, wala talaga.
Well, how about the latest survey show that you're, like Mar, very strong in the Visayas?
Oo.
You're in the high 30s. Like 19% in balance, Luzon and so on. Does that mean that in the last 32 days, we won't see you in the Visayas. You'll be spending
Hindi
more
naman.
time in
Actually,
in
I will still,
Metro Manila.
I will be spending more time in Manila and in Luzon. Kasi yun naman yung strategy from the very beginning, unahin yung malalayo, ihuli yung malalapit. And it's been reflected in the surveys. Parang in Manila, I'm sad. Hindi ko alam if I'm 12 or 15 in the latest Pulse surveys, but that's way below the front runner in Manila. I think the front runner is in the high 30s. So talagang, if you look at the rest of the country, I'm okay, except of course, Northern Luzon. Pero yung Metro Manila talaga is an area where I have to exert more effort campaigning. Ano to? Ako kasi I always go by gut feel. Wala akong scientific na even then wala akong parang I depend on people who are more experienced in handling elections. Ako naman I'm very hardworking. I don't mind the long hours. It's something that going around and being with people is something that I really enjoy.
Did you get sick on the campaign trail?
Yeah, once. I got sick, I think, when was that? I think Feb, no? I got sick in Feb, pero I didn't stop. Parang sayang din ako sa oras. Parang I remember I was sick for about 3 or 4 days. Ang ginagawa ko, we were hopping from one sortie to another. I just told Secretary Mar na, Sec, can I stay in the car? Kasi I was having chills. I had very high fever. And tapos sabi ni Sec Mar, pinapauwi na nga ako, magpahinga ka na. Sabi ko, hindi, kasi nag-ahabol ako. I think I was 11% at that time. So, sayang. When it's time for me to speak, I go in, do the works. Actually, when I'm speaking in front of the crowds, I don't feel sick at all eh. Pero pagkatapos ko at uupo ako, doon na naman, mag-chills na naman ako, babalik na naman ako sa sakyan. I did that for about 4 days. Pero after that, I was okay again. Ano lang ako, Beroka Queen. Talagang...
Okay, our first product placement. Hindi natin na... Hindi namin nadala yung Beroka. Ma'am, if you don't mind my asking, President Aquino is the most popular president in since the time surveys were conducted. And yet, he's anointed. It doesn't seem to translate. No? Is that a fair perception? That his popularity doesn't seem to translate either into the Daang Matuwid program or his chosen candidate? Or do you think there's another explanation?
I think it's also a combination of a few things. Yung una, baka parang yung perception of the president is despite yung mga pagkukulang ng administrasyon na nireklamo ng marami, kinikilala siya na naging matino, kinikilala siya na maraming ginawa in the sense that we're really much better off now than we were before he became president. I think yun yung recognition. Pero siguro pagkukulang, yung I think because also Secretary Mar has been his own person also in the past na hindi lang siya shadow nung Pangulo. So, ano yun, plus minus. Plus minus in the sense na yung minus nun, meron siyang sariling baggages. Hindi lang yung baggage ng administrasyon yung dala niya, pati yung sarili niyang baggages. If we look back, maraming mga controversial na mga pinagdaanan yung ating bansang kahirapan na si Secretary Mar yung nasa forefront. And Yolanda, Zamboanga, Bohol, etc. Siyempre, hindi naging perpekto yung sitwasyon. At dahil si Secretary Mar yung mukha nun, dahil siya naman talaga yung lumusong doon, yung pagsisisi nasa kanya. And I think it has been very unfair to him. Not that I'm saying that naging perpekto yung lahat na solusyon na binigay niya. Pero parang ang tanong ko lang sa sarili ko ngayon, totoong maraming pagkukulang. Let's say Yolanda, marami talagang pagkukulang. Pero looking back na, would it have been better pala na hindi na lang pumunta doon si Secmar, natulog na lang sa bahay niya? Kasi kung natulog na lang siya sa bahay niya, sana wala sa kanya yung sisi ng Yolanda, di ba? Parang Yung iba, hindi sinisisi sa Yolanda kasi wala naman sila doon. So, parang, yun yung parang unfairness of the situation. Halimbawa, yung Zamboanga, nandun siya for, I think, 18 days or 16 days, I'm not really sure. Marami ding bumabatikos. Pero ang tanong again, would it have been better na hindi na lang siya pumunta doon? Kasi kung hindi siya pumunta doon, hindi sana siya nasisi. 'Di ba? Parang yun naman yung tinitingnan ko na halimbawa ako, I enjoy the privilege of not having as much baggage as my president. Kasi hindi pa naman ako public official noon at wala pang ganun na expectation sa akin. So, yung aking wish lang na okay naman na mag-criticize, pero yung judgment sana, yung tinitingnan yung buong sitwasyon na yun nga, yung pinakasimple lang ng tanong, mas mabuti bang wala na lang siya doon para hindi siya nasisi. Sinulong niya yung problema, hinarap niya yung problema, hindi naging perpekto yung ginawa. Pero ngayon, tinatanggap niya yung kritisismo na siguro yung iba deserved, yung iba unfair din. Nalulungkot din ako para sa kanya. Pero I think it's the challenge of the campaign na paano.
What was the best? What was the most memorable sortie of all in the first 60 days?
Marami din. Ako mismo. Yung sa akin kasi mas memorable kasi I always ask my campaign team that aside from, I don't know if you noticed, pero humihiwalay ako for about an hour. Sinisingit ko yung gusto kong gawin. Halimbawa, when I went to Pampanga, umakyat ako without media to. Umakyat ako sa Mount Pinatubo, pumunta sa Porac, binisita ko yung mga ITAS doon. Hindi ako nag-speech, pero ako lang yung MC ng program. Ako yung MC ng program, nagpapa-volunteer lang ako sa kanila ng sino kakanta, sino sasayaw. Parang happy. Siya yung nagbibigay ng good vibes sa akin. Halimbawa, pumunta ako sa Bukidnon, nag-set aside ako ng 1 hour, minute ko yung mga representatives ng 7 different tribes. Kasi ito yung trabaho ko dati. Yung trabaho ko dati, ito talaga yung mga taong katrabaho ko. Parang just giving myself a sense of parang balance. Kasi yung sorties talaga, while you're enjoying being with people, parang sometimes it becomes mechanical na you jump from one sortie to another. Minsan tinatanong na namin, nasaan nga tayo? Nasaan tayo? Parang you lose yourself eh. And these small things, gathering of 20 people, mga very small gatherings, without media, without anyone else. Pero yung parang food for my soul yun. Ito yung sa akin, nag-energize.
Ma'am, thank you. We are 22 minutes past our time. Maybe I can just ask you for a few words addressed to the audience.
Sige.
Or multiple audiences.
Ako lang, I would just like to thank the Inquirer for giving me this chance to speak to our audience. It's always an opportunity for me. When I started in this campaign, I was nobody knew me. Kaya every opportunity to share my story, every opportunity to share my thoughts on issues is really one big opportunity for me to show people who Leni Robredo is. Kasi everywhere I go, I'm always being introduced as the widow of Jesse. Something that I'm very proud of because my husband naman was a matino at mahusay na public servant. But now that I'm offering myself for the vice presidency, I think people should know me better aside from my being the widow of Jesse and opportunities such as this. It will really be very helpful in introducing myself to people. So thank you very much.
Thank you too. It's our pleasure to host you. Thank you very much, Congresswoman
Thank
Leni
you.
Robredo. Thank you to our multiple audiences. We would like to invite you to our next INQ&As with Senator Chicho Escudero, Senator Cayetano, and for final confirmation, Senator Bongbong Marcos. We will be updating you on the schedule. This has been INQ and A. Thank you and good night.